Gentlemen, let's move on to the news.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North and South America, and all the skips and clippers at sea. Let's go to press. News.
First up in news is some board game arena news. If we had to pick one place to play our online games, I'm pretty sure we'd be unanimous that we would all prefer to play on Board Game Arena if we could. The fact that everything is automated, it just makes the game so much easier to play.
But there are no backseas. You cannot redo your turn.
That's not true. Some of the games in there have backseas, but I don't.
Not Keyflower.
No, not Keyflower. No, but guess what? I think it's good for us to get used to no backseas. I think we may do that too liberally in our gaming group. Our gaming meta may do that way. So the news is we have a couple games that we can tell you are coming down the pike and are soon to be released on Board Game Arena. Teotihuacan has sought out beta play testers and is well on its way to being released on the platform.
It's a great game.
And now
so excited for that.
Yeah, and now City of the Big Shoulders, one of Ben's favorite games from last year.
Me too.
Yeah,
I love it too. It's not as high up on my list as it is on your guys' list.
Tom, I reviewed both of those games last year as part of this podcast.
That is true.
Someone is listening.
They listened.
Yes.
I think Board Game Arena was listening, and they said, we want to really corner that DMITRY Portnoy audience on our platform.
Going for me, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're asking for alpha testers right now, which tells me that it may be a little while before they get out there, but they're working on that. They're efforting that as we speak. I think it's a great idea. I think any publisher, any game designer that is not trying to put out mods for their game on these popular platforms is missing out. That it's
100%.
It may be a while. It may be quite some time before things get actually back to normal. There may be in New York you're allowed to get together with 10 people. Does that mean
any reason? Does
that mean everybody's going to be gaming together? I don't think that that's the way it's going to work, and I'm not sure that guidance won't change in and of itself.
Maybe they'll be building human pyramids.
Maybe it will. Listen, I would love nothing. I would love nothing more for this virus to disappear, never reappear again, and for everything to get back to normal super quick. But I don't think that doesn't appear to be what the smart money is betting on right now. And so I'm going to go with that and say, get these online implementations going. It's just good to be able to game with people like Alfred. People who. Abandoned us, really, for lack of a better term.
For Boston.
Well, actually, it has been, I will say, one of the perks for me has been playing these online games. I've been playing with friends who have since moved away from LA or friends who are in New York, in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
When we played Smartphone, Tom, earlier this week, the two guys that we're playing with were up in the Bay Area, and they were part of my game group that when they lived down here. So it has the silver lining has been being able to play with these people from across the country, like Alfred, for instance.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But ultimately, it never, ever, ever replaces the real life experience. And I just hope that more game publishers don't view Board Game Arena or even Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator as competition and view it more as marketing tools, because right now, they're basically would be exposing their game to lots of people. And I would like to touch base with my friend Matt, because my friend Matt designed that game, The King's Guild, which he released on Kickstarter. I think it did nicely. It's a fun game, but he got it onto Board Game Arena a few months ago, and now people are. I would like to see how having his game on Board Game Arena has raised its profile, because I can only imagine that it's raised it a lot, and that probably after this is all over, a lot of people will probably want to buy it.
Indie publishers are being advised that the best way to approach a career in publishing is to essentially take your first book and give it away for free. Essentially, what you're doing with that first book, or at least for a lot of the time, you're building an audience. That's what you're doing. That's the whole purpose of that. Then you start selling people on future books. Some authors will actually create a novella specifically to be a free giveaway to get people on their mailing list, to start to build an audience and do that sort of stuff.
Like drug dealers.
The first taste is free.
And then
Well, honestly, look at hip hop. I mean, you have a lot of hip hop artists who rise up first by releasing mixtapes, which I think are generally free.
Yeah.
So that's just it's all about building that audience, and Board Game Arena right now is I think where it's at. So and let me not underscore how excited I am that both of these games are coming to Board Game Arena, especially City of the Big Shoulders, which I love, and there's no way to play it right now online. At least Teotihuacan, you can play it on Tabletopia, which I actually have not done yet. But City of Big Shoulders, I really, really enjoy it, and I really want to play it some more. So I already volunteered myself to be an alpha tester. I don't know if I'll be accepted, but I'm throwing myself in there and throwing my bra up on the stage.
And you are the real alpha in my book.
Thank you. It's the first time I've ever heard that.
Next up in news, we have the Spiel des Jahres awards have been announced. On this very strange year, it has been announced that there are 3 nominees for the Spiel des Jahres, along with some other 6 titles that are also rans or recommended, we can call it. And then there's the Kennerspiel des Jahres. So for the few people listening to the podcast that don't know what this is, I'm virtually certain that almost everybody in the Game Brand audience knows what this is. But if you don't, it's kind of the Oscars of the hobby board game world. It is the biggest award of the year. It's the oldest award, or at least one of the oldest awards. And it goes out every year to a game. And when the Spiel des Jahres logo goes on your game, that increases the sales often considerably. But the thing we have to remember is that the Spiel des Jahres tends to be awards for family games. They're for broader market games. Not Monopoly, not Sorry, nothing like that. They're still hobby games, but they tend to be considerably lighter than the types of games that our group plays.
Games that play faster, games that tend to play in 60 minutes to 90 minutes, and with a lot of colorful, cardboardy, tiley components and very little reliance on language.
Exactly right. Exactly. So with that in mind, but the Kennerspiel des Jahres, that was created later on to be more like, okay, what if people want to dip their toe into the deeper end of the pool? What are games that we can recommend that way? What award can we give for slightly heavier games that are not aimed at the family market particularly? So those games tend to be a little more our neck of the woods. But let's go through, first of all, the 3 nominees for the Spiel des Jahres. It is My City by Rainer Knizia, Nova Luna by Uwe Rosenberg and Corne van Moorsel. I may have butchered that name. And Pictures by Daniela and Christian Storr. All right, so My City is kind of interesting, actually. Of the 3, it's the one that's the most interesting to me. It is Rainer Knizia, who is one of my favorite designers. He is the good doctor, a PhD in mathematics, has designed probably more hobby games than anybody else. He's just a monster that just keeps turning out game after game after game. And, had a bit of a lull where started to produce so many games that the quality kind of dropped. But still, you look over his career, he's got so many amazing games. He's got Through the Desert, he's got Samurai, he's got Modern Art, he's got Taj Mahal, he's got so many.
He's like the Woody Allen of game design, just turning out another classic movie every year, but then having some very, very, very serious mishits.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad.
Minus maybe some of the maybe minus some of the problematic Woody Allen elements. Let's just take that part out. Also,
yes, we can't speak.
Well, we don't know.
Can't speak to the good doctor's private life. In no way, shape, or form can we talk about that. But My City is a game that you are building a city on your own map. Everybody is building a city on their own map. Cards are turned over. Everybody has the same set of 16, 20 polyominoes. By polyominoes, we just mean shapes. Tetris shapes, essentially, is kind of what we're talking about here. And it's designed to be a campaign game where there are 8 levels, and each level has 3 games in it. So the first game, it's just everything on your map that isn't forest you want to fill up with these polyominoes as best you can. Everything that you don't fill up is -1 point, basically. And there are a few trees, the lone little tree groves out there. And if you can leave those untouched, they're worth +2 points and so on and so forth. So you try to get your best score there. Then the next round, the fact that the buildings have 3 different color schemes, it comes into play because you're going to get points, positive points, for every building of the same color touching each other or something along those lines. Then the next one, they introduce a new element. You're going to put wells down on the map, and wherever these wells are, you want 4 different buildings touching this one little square. And if you can do that, you're going to get 4 points each time you do that. So to call it a legacy game, to call it a campaign mode, might be a bit of a stretch.
It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that you build onto, basically, right?
That's neat.
Yeah. I like the fact that for people that like those simple games, that like games like Patchwork or things like that, Uwe Rosenberg games, really, Uwe Rosenberg's lighter stuff. These are games that are. This is a kind of interesting take on it, and supposedly you're going from prehistoric times up to the modern era.
There's nothing wrong with people who like these games, Tom, right? We don't look down on these games or the people who like them. Just want to make sure.
I mean, if one was to do that, what could one call one other than a gatekeeper?
Yes.
And
yes.
As we all know, we have to be careful about being gatekeepers, and we have to avoid that when we can. No, there's absolutely nothing wrong about it. That's why I'm talking. Listen, I am spending a lot of time on this podcast talking about a game that we will never play. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I actually think it's quite an interesting design. I think that it combines very light and easy mechanics with a repeatable playability and sort of a campaign aspect to it that might be something that a lot of lighter gamers never get a chance to try. Like what is a super light game that has a campaign element? And I don't know. I don't know one. Certainly not a.
Who was that? Well, there's the Fabled Fruit. Whatever.
Yeah. But this is 24 different episodes that get progressively harder as it goes, so it kind of scales up to some degree. I think that's very interesting. I think that's.
I'm not mad at it. And I also feel like, given that there was this whole big legacy boom, I'm still waiting for a proper legacy city building game, and I don't think that Charterstone counts because, admittedly, I never played it, but from what I gather, Charterstone was billed as a legacy city building game, but it was more just about like you just put like a thing down. Like I'm talking about a real city building game where the buildings that you put down and their proximity to each other and all this stuff, it makes it feel like you're building an actual city. And then at the end, you can look down at a whole city and be like, wow, over all these sessions we developed, this is my version of Los Angeles. That's what I would love. And it seems like this is sort of like a light version of that.
I think infill would be a great topic for the game, where you're building onto existing neighborhoods and redeveloping possibly blighted neighborhoods rather than growing out from the center, and all the topics associated with that, including unfair displacement,
eminent domain, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's Trey, if you're listening.
I'll go one step farther. Set it in ancient Rome. You're going to sell a whole bunch of copies. Set it during the reigns of Nero and the guys around there. The great Roman fire that Nero blamed on the Christians. That was very suspicious because he had these huge plans to redevelop about a third of the city and utterly change it. And what neighborhoods happened to burn down in the Great Fire? Almost exactly those neighborhoods. So there's
Rome is an amazing legacy game, campaign game theme. The building of
You could
Rome.
literally call it Rome Wasn't Built in a Day.
Ben, I cannot improve on that. You won the podcast. You won this episode right there.
awful.
But for me personally, I enjoy my city building games to be current. I like modern city games. But regardless, that's not what we're talking about. But that was my little 2 cents on that.
There you go. The second game that was nominated was Nova Luna. Nova Luna is an Uwe Rosenberg design, and it is how do we put it? It's a tile laying game. So
another one.
Yes.
Wow,
so,
they really don't go for variety, do they?
Well, Uwe kind of
Spiels.
cornered the market on this with Patchwork and going forward from Patchwork. There's a lot of games that Uwe has done that really have done different things. He has a game called Habitats, and this game seems a lot like Habitats. I think it's going to play very well. It plays 1 to 4 players. I think it's going to play very well at the 2-player count. So I think it might make a really good couples game. If you were looking for a couples game that is light, that plays in 30 minutes to an hour at most, and is kind of eye-catching, take a look. Watch a video review and see if Nova Luna might be for you. And then the third nominee is a game called Pictures. Pictures is by designers that I don't really know too much, but the idea is kind of interesting. There is going to be 16 cards laid out, and each player is simultaneously trying to copy a picture with one of these 5 different elements: building blocks, sticks and stones, icon cards, colored cubes, or rope. And then after this, each player has to decide which one of these 16 displayed pictures you were trying to draw. So I have a tremendously limited artistic resource, and I'm trying to get people to guess that I was going for this versus that. So much more.
That sounds fun, actually. That actually sounds to me the most fun of the batch.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I would say that My City is a strategy game, a very light strategy game. I would say that Pictures is much more of a party game, right? It fits that mode. But I think it sounds really interesting. I would like to check that out sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the mindset that a light strategy game can be super fun and very enjoyable, but I almost would rather have a heavy strategy game versus a light one. I'd rather have a more of a party game. Because a light strategy game will give me an itch of what I want, but not fully what I want. Whereas a party game is a party game, and I know what I'm getting into. But I mean, I'd probably be happy with all of them.
Got it. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm into the
in case the jury
aspect.
was wondering how I feel. That's there. There you go.
I want to know. I do. we don't not want to know this. And then we should also mention what is in the Kennerspiel jar, considering that is more our bread and butter. Cartographers, a role-player tale, The Crew, and The King's Dilemma. Cartographers.
I have a bone to pick.
Please do.
With Cartographers, that should be a Spiel des Jahres nomination. That should not be Kennerspiel. I'm sorry.
Completely agree.
It's a very fun game. Have you guys played it before?
Yeah, I don't like roll and rights or draw and rights or any of that sort of stuff. I tend not to like those games. So but I did try Cartographers once, and I was like, it definitely. That was exactly what I was about to say. It belongs on the lighter side.
Yeah, that to me is ridiculous. That it makes me angry because I feel like there is a game that is like that matches the category that probably got lost a spot that really could have used it. I think that Cartographers. I enjoyed it. I'm like you. Roll and rights don't really do much for me, but as a roll and write, I did enjoy it. I thought it was lovely. I had a fun time with my friends playing it, but that is like, it is so beyond like a obvious choice for Spiel des Jahres. I do not know how it got to Kennerspiel. It's crazy to me.
Would you like to know what the runners-up were that were not selected for the official nomination?
I sure do.
They were Paladins of the West Kingdom, Race Arcana, and Underwater Cities. None of them nominated for the Kennerspiel des Jahres, but singled out for special mention. Of those 3, I don't like 2 of them, but I would gladly put any of those 3 in Cartographer's place because I think they fit the category much better.
I played Race Arcana with Matt a few times. Matt is a huge fan of it. I enjoy it. I think it's a 30-minute game where you have to roll with the punches and make lemonade out of lemons. It's a great kind of brain-burning thing where you're trying to deal with whatever comes your way and make the best of it.
I mean, for me, it feels a little light for the Kenner Spiel des Jahres. It feels a little light for the Spiel des Jahres.
I think because the theme kind of throws you.
I'm just joking.
It's all dragons and witches and spells.
I don't
and
like
wizards.
that theme. You're right. You're absolutely right. I do not like that theme. He raved about the art. I don't like the art. I don't like it. I don't think it's that great.
Wow. Shots fired.
Shots fired. Sorry.
Swords swung.
There are resources, there are
spells cast.
cards, there are engines, there are mechanisms, there are ways to deflect, there are ways to attack and defend against other players. This is a very versatile game. Cards only play, and bits, plastic bits, but it's a card game that plays in 30 minutes and feels real.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I would pick
Underwater category.
Sorry. I would pick Underwater Cities.
Golden Globes vibes.
Yeah, Golden Globes vibes. So you think the
I'm
Hollywood
getting Golden
Foreign
Globes
Press?
vibes. You know when a movie winds up in the comedy or musical category, and you're like, this is not a comedy or a musical. But you got in here because someone lobbied for it.
Yep.
That's how I really feel about Cartographers here. How is this the same category that previous nominees are like Terraforming Mars or Heaven and Ale, or you have Underwater Cities as like a honorable mention, and then Cartographers gets a spot? It's was Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie in this? I mean, what happened?
You have to, Harvey paid some people and it got the nomination. Let's be clear. That's definitely what happened. I'll also say, having played The Crew a lot, I like The Crew very, very much. It's also on the lighter end, though. So even the games that are in the Kenner Spiel des Jahres aren't quite as heavy as what we would like them to be. But that said, everything that I've heard about the King's Dilemma says that belongs here, that deserves to be here, that is tremendously innovative. I hope it wins. I hope it wins the Kenner Spiel des Jahres. And if I could have taken one of the 3 recommended titles and put it up there, I would have loved to see Underwater Cities up there.
Underwater Cities for me is the heartbreaker of last year. I really like the look of it. I like the mechanisms it explores. I think it has terrific, unique cards, and it's a great worker placement game. It feels broken to me. It feels kind of two-dimensional rather than three-dimensional, and having played the extension, that kind of reinforced that.
Really?
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like there's not enough you can do with strategy. It's all about tactics. It's all about what cards you pull. You can't you build the same labs as before.
Uh-huh.
You do the same resources and you always manage them the same way. And maybe I'm not getting past that initial first impression of strategy, and maybe there is another way to win or do well, but I just don't see it. It's very limited.
I mean, for me, the addition of the museum, the addition of the new cards, the addition of the different assistant cards that you can start the game with, so the variable starting position, I thought those were really good additions of the expansion and kind of turned me around. My initial vote on Underwater Cities was kind of yours. It was like, at first I loved it, and then the more I played it, I was like, oh, you know what? It is starting to feel a little samey, a little limited in terms of the way it plays. But the expansion really kind of, for me, gave it a new life, and I'm still kind of in that space. I still very much enjoy it. So, interesting.
I'm an unabashed fanboy of the game. I think it's great. I consider myself lucky that I never had the issues that I know some other people have had. And I love it. And for me, perhaps there's truth to what DMITRY's saying, that it's always the same labs, always the same this or that. But for me, it's how you get those labs out on the board and how you build that stuff, because that's always where the dilemmas come in. Which cards am I going to use? Well, I've got this color, that would be great, but there's no slot, or I don't have the bonus, or, all those decisions. The decision making in that game to me is just so rich. It's like the chef's kiss. Like, wow, perfect.
I wish there was some way for the cities to communicate with each other. I wish there was some way to matter which cities were next to which cities and maybe trade resources between them.
It's great. I like that idea.
That's a great idea for an expansion. I think it's excellent.
Yeah. Guys, we're running late on time, so let me skip ahead and just talk about a couple last things. Nemesis Lockdown. Nemesis, hugely popular sci-fi horror dudes on a map game. Haven't reviewed it, haven't been able to procure a copy of it. So, but a game that we would very much like to review in the future.
Hint, Nemesis Publishers.
No. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like they're going to be knocking down our door. This is the first standalone expansion for the game Nemesis. It takes us to a new location, a secret base on Mars, and it has a multi-level board. Lockdown is going to, from everything that I'm looking at here, it seems like it's going to deliver on a lot of what the base game is, just in spades, and give you some new mechanisms, some new things. Check it out. It's not due until 2021. The lead time on a game like this is going to be a long time, but it is a big box expansion, not a small box expansion. This is going to be a pretty huge. So please check that out. And last but not least, we should say that it is official. Gen Con 2020 has been canceled. Spiel, Essen Spiel, the largest board gaming convention in the world, has been canceled.
They're not going to just invite 10 people
and hold it in New York? They are not going to invite 10 people. They realized that they would have to either invite Trey or me, and not both of us, and for Gen Con, and they just couldn't. They couldn't split that Gordian knot, which is unfortunate. But something that just happened this week that we got to a little late is that BGG Con Online had a little 2-day online convention that sounded like it went really, really well. People had a great time with that, and hopefully there'll be more of those sorts of things that will, in some small way, bridge the gap. Okay, it's a sad thing. I was planning on going to Gen Con. Trey and I go almost every year and have for a very long time. We've had tons of elders come with us dozens of times. Matt has come with us several times. It's a real joy. Trey, Matt, and I loved Essen the one time we were there, and look forward to getting back
Tom,
there again.
you should put on our Facebook page the photo of all three of you in bed together at the hotel room.
You like that one?
Yes, very much.
Is that your favorite photo?
And Ben, please hold a BenCon in your apartment.
I've been wanting to hold a BenCon for a very long time. But it's one of those things I should have a BenCon because my name is Ben and it rhymes with Jen. But I haven't actually organized anything yet. So
you had this idea before and I mentioned it. I feel so sad.
No, don't feel sad. Just it's a happy moment. It's a happy moment where our minds were on the same wavelength.
Great minds.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.